Hello and welcome. I'm Pallavi Sharma and you're watching BIZWORLD Weekly, a show that gives you a detailed analysis of what happened across the world in this week. Let's start with the market check. Indian indices ended the week in a volatile session. Sensex was down 0.25% at 77,414.92 points and Nifty was down 0.31% at 23,519.35 points on March 28th. Except FMCG, oil and gas, all other sectoral indices ended in red, with IT, auto, realty and media down 1 to 2% each. Top gainers on Sensex were Tata Consumer, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Apollo Hospitals, ONGC and ICICI Bank. Top losers were Wipro, IndusInd Bank, Shriram Finance, Cipla and M&M. BSE Mid-Cap Index was down 0.7% and Small Cap Index was down 0.35%. Indian Rupee ended 32 paise higher at 85.46 per dollar on March 28th. Gold prices were at 89,850 per 10 grams for 24 karat gold and 82,360 per 10 grams for 22 karat gold. Two back-to-back earthquakes of 7.7 and 6.4 magnitude hit Myanmar on March 28. Strong tremors were also felt in Thailand's Bangkok too. Now, this prompted the government to declare an emergency and shut down metro and rail services in Bangkok. Strong aftershocks were also felt in Meghalaya and several other northeastern states in India. Scary visuals have emerged from the affected areas and the impact was huge as high-rise buildings in Bangkok collapsed in minutes, killing 2 laborers. And around 30 are still trapped. Tremors forced people to run out of their homes and sent water sloshing out of the pools from high-rise buildings. In Myanmar, 3 people died after a mosque partially collapsed. The iconic Ava Bridge in Myanmar have also crumbled. PM Modi issued a statement. He said he is concerned by the situation in Myanmar and Thailand and offered India's assistance. Earthquakes are relatively common in Myanmar as it is situated near the Sagaing Fault, which runs north through south through the center of the country and was also the epicenter of the earthquake. If you are a journalist, here's a tip. Create an account on the messaging app Signal. Why? Because that's where the US top officials are discussing sensitive security information or war plans. And if you're lucky, you might just get added to one of these groups. Sounds fictional? Well, it's reality, and this happened recently with the editor-in-chief of a US-based magazine, The Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg said that the group chat began on March 11 after he received a connection request on Signal from a person identified as Waltz. He accepted it and 2 days later, he was added to a group chat on the platform called Houthi PC Small Group. He said that the group had texts that literally exposed the operational military information about the strikes planned on Yemen targeting the Houthis. Goldberg said that he was first at the view of that this chat is fake. This group is fake because, well, who would even think that war plans will be discussed in a group chat on Signal? But then the attacks happened at the exact time that the group had indicated they would. Now, this confirmed that he was actually added to a group of US top officials. Now, who was in this chat group and what chats took place between them? In the group, the Vice President of US, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, US Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary of US, Mike Waltz, Trump's National Security Advisor, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary of the US, John Ratcliffe, who probably is the Director of CIA, someone named Brian, who might be the National Security Council spokesperson, or Waltz Chief of Staff, someone called SM, who probably is Stephen Miller, Homeland Security Advisor, and one person named Joe Kent, who was present in the group. And adding to this was a journalist who was added by Mike Waltz. The officials were discussing US's policy against the Houthis, if the attack should happen, when should it happen, and how should it take place. Apparently, Trump had ordered the officials to attack the Houthis to clear the Red Sea. But JD Vance was not convinced. He posted in the group saying, and I quote, "I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There is a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices." He said this because Europe uses the Red Sea, the Suez Canal route a lot. The route is used by Europeans for 40% of their trade, so an attack in the Red Sea impacts the trade in Europe. Pete Hegseth disagreed, though he said waiting around means a lot of risk. He said the plan might get leaked or Israel might take action first. Well, ironic because there is a journalist in the group who fortunately was in disbelief at the moment and did not take any action. He then said only Americans can pull this action and no one else can do it. Vance was convinced, and then on March 15th, Hegseth posted a team update. This team update has details of March 15 attacks on Yemen, including what targets individuals will be attacked, what weapons will be used, and the sequence of events 2 hours before the strikes took place. It happened and congratulatory messages poured in on the group. Then Goldberg exited the group chat and sent Waltz a message on Signal and email to several officials asking if the chat was authentic. The national security spokesperson in a statement said that the group looks authentic and the White House is looking into the matter. Mike Waltz said that he takes full responsibility to the embarrassing chat leak. He also said that he doesn't know Jeffrey Goldberg personally. Trump then said Waltz has learned his lesson and that it was the only glitch in 2 months. Well, the only glitch, but a big one. So what are the key takeaways from this chat? Well, 1, revealing top secrets on a messaging app is a bad way of talking, especially for intelligence officials. There is a situation room for all these chats. Number 2, the hatred for Europe is real. Hegseth called out Europe for freeloading and called them pathetic too. So these are the takeaways from the chat, and it was a big security breach. Trump tariffs are becoming a real deal for countries. During this week, 2 major announcements were made that shook the world and India too. The recent one is auto tariffs. The US has announced implementation of 25% tariff on imported cars and light trucks starting next week. Several countries like Japan, Canada, and EU have criticized this move, calling it a direct attack. Meanwhile, the White House anticipates that this will generate $100 billion in annual revenue. Well, it's not that easy though, because most US automakers rely on global supply chains. Manufacturers may see rising costs and declining sales, but Trump is staying put for now. He says that the move will drive more factory openings in the US. Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO and Trump's friend, says that the impact will be huge on Tesla too. Highly impacted countries could be Canada and Mexico because most car makers import their product from there and sell to the US, like Ford, Nissan, General Motors, Toyota, and more. Meanwhile, in India, the day the announcement was made on March 27th, the stocks of automakers fell. Tata Motors declined 6.31% to 663 rupees during early trading hours because US is a significant market for Jaguar Land Rover, contributing 22% of total sales as per JLR's annual report for FY24. Eicher Motors lost nearly 2%, Hyundai slipped nearly 1.7%, Samvardhana Motor fell 6.4%, Sona BLW dropped over 4.4%, and Balakrishna Industries shed 3.4% on opening on March 27. Most of these companies derive significant revenues from US and Europe. It impacted global automaker stocks too. Now, this was one bomb. The other one was imposition of 25% tariff on all imports from countries that buy oil and gas from Venezuela. He said that it will also take effect from April 2. Well, this is a big hit on the US itself because Venezuela is one of the top foreign oil supplier for the US as per reports. Energy experts note that this will impact India too, as it is a buyer of Venezuelan oil. Now, this is after the gap of 3 years. India resumed crude oil imports from Venezuela in December 2023. In 2024, India imported 22 million barrels from it, which is 1.5% of total crude oil purchase of India. But the imports are not that significant though. So New Delhi might have to rethink its oil import diversification strategy. So what India is doing to escape the Trump tariff trap? Well, reciprocal tariff also kicked in from April 2nd, and India and US have started bilateral talks in New Delhi. A US delegation arrived in India for talks. As per reports, India is open to cutting tariffs on more than half of US imports worth $23 billion in a trade deal. India estimated that reciprocal tariffs could hit 87% of its total exports to the US, worth a whopping $66 billion. While Trump has been continuously criticizing India for its tariff policies, he said that a lot of countries may get a break from tariffs, but it will not be easy to get this relief. Who are these countries? Well, all eyes on April 2nd. So let's see what India and US do in their bilateral talks. Mount Fuji is on the verge of eruption. The Japan government has released guidelines preparing Tokyo for a potential disaster. Now, this, if happens, will be the first eruption in 300 years. Mount Fuji last erupted in 1707. The massive eruption lasted for 16 days, sending ashes as far as present-day Tokyo. Experts are now warning that the history may repeat itself. They say that it will impact Tokyo massively. Experts say that the major eruption can release up to 490 million cubic meters of volcanic ash. Now, this is 10 times more debris from 2007 earthquake and tsunami. The experts categorize ashfall to 4 stages, from stage 1 under 3 cm to stage 4 over 30 cm. While first 3 stages are likely not going to harm outdoor workers immediately, prolonged exposure could, however, affect their throat and eyes. The winds will carry the ash eastward, covering Tokyo, Yokohama, and Kawasaki. Now, this volcanic ash, made of tiny fragments of rock, mineral crystals, and volcanic glass, can cause respiratory problems and irritation in eyes, nose, and lungs. In stage 1 of the 3 cm ashfall, outdoor activities are possible. In stage 2, ashfall between 3 to 10 cm, it is bad for driving. Public transport will be disrupted, and residents are advised to avoid unnecessary travel, and they have to ensure that they stock up a week of supply. In stage 3, 10 to 30 cm of ashfall, there will be power, water, and communication disruption. Wooden homes will be at a risk of collapsing, and evacuations will be necessary if ashfall combines with rainfall. Now, stage 4, about 30 cm ashfall, it is a disaster with collapse in buildings. Essential services will be locked, and residents of Tokyo will have to evacuate. The biggest challenge will be ash removal though. So the government is looking at options to dispose this ash for use in construction or other purposes. While there are no imminent signs of eruption, Japan is taking precautionary measures and issuing guidelines in case it happens. Imagine you plan a trip to the US, do all your documentation, but get turned away from the airport because of a message you sent to your friend. Well, this is happening, and especially for travelers traveling to US. People are being turned away from airports over messages found in their devices. Yes, so the Customs and Border Protection can search your phone and other electronic devices. 2 types of searches are allowed. Basic search, where the officer manually scrolls through your device without using any additional equipment. Advanced search, where a special equipment takes access of the content in your phone, copy it, and analyzes it. So data privacy is a concern, and when you refuse to show your device, it might get seized, or for visa holders, the entry could get denied at immigration. What you can do is limit what you bring, back up your device, strengthen your password, check if they are real officers, enable encryption, check your device after you get it back from the officers, and limit access to cloud. Canada, Germany, Denmark, UK, and more European countries have now issued travel advisory against the US. Now, this comes as Trump is deporting more than half of the migrants. Countries in Europe are asking their citizens to limit travel to the US and strictly adhere to all rules of entry. Several European travelers were arrested or detained by immigration authorities while entering the US. Finland and Denmark have updated their travel guidance regarding people's gender markers on their travel documents, as Trump signed an order that the US now recognizes only two genders. If gender listed on the passport does not match their gender assigned at birth, the travel permit or visa application can be denied. They have advised citizens to keep proof of visit and not give false reasons for visit, overstay their visit, or have criminal conviction in the state or the country. Now, Canada has updated its travel guidelines for entering the US. As per the guidelines, Canadians and foreign nationals who visit the US longer than 30 days must be registered with the US government, and failure to comply could lead to penalties, fines, and misdemeanor prosecution. While it is unsure that travel warnings may impact the economy or not, economists previously warned that tariffs imposed by Trump could strain international relations with its allies and increase costs. In 2024, more than 13 million people visited the US from Western Europe alone, and at least 1.5 million have visited so far this year. Economists say that spending by tourists could also fall by 12.3%, amounting to $22 billion in annual loss. So, while Trump's slump is real, because experts are forecasting an overall drop of 5.1% in tourist arrivals. Apple's iPhone might be a success, but Apple TV might not be so much. Apple is reportedly losing $1 billion a year on its streaming service. As the last episode of the second season of its hit show Severance aired, now it might not be able to keep up with competitors like Netflix. As per reports, the tech firm spent $5 billion a year on Apple TV Plus since it launched in 2019. It has a huge investment, but the subscriber base is not very huge. It is significantly behind Netflix, Prime Video, and Disney Plus. Well, Apple is one of the biggest companies on earth, and if Apple TV is not working, there is something disastrously wrong with the concept or strategy here. What is wrong though? Well, if you are a social media geek, how you find shows is via Instagram Reels or YouTube trailers or a hype created by the streaming platform. Marketing, it's lacking there too. You might have not seen many shows being promoted like other streaming platforms are doing. Trailers are dropping randomly, and there are not so much promotion here and there for these shows. Second, subscriber pull. You get it on your Apple device. You don't go and subscribe it separately because you don't know what to do with it. Why do you want Apple TV Plus? Apple reportedly has 45 million subscribers, while Netflix has 300 million and Prime Video has 200 million. Streaming wars are real. People are shifting away from TV for dramas and films. Bollywood releases on streaming platforms are surging. People are talking about the shows, and streaming platforms are cashing on it. Netflix is experimenting. It's releasing shows in parts. What it does is it leaves viewers excited to watch what's going to happen next. And this is working for the platform. Netflix revenue jumped 15.6% in 1 year from 2023 to 24. Prime Video has a different model. It has a subscription model too. It is also focusing on live streaming, and it is also having things for non-subscribers. One can also rent a particular movie on the platform and watch it like you used to when you were a kid. You go to a rental store to get cassettes and CDs of the films you want to watch. So what is Apple TV doing? It's lacking identity too. And well, Apple has to push its marketing game up to justify its investment in the streaming space. The Indian judiciary is in trouble because of a fire incident. The fire took place at the residence of Delhi High Court judge and they found a burnt pile of cash on March 14th. The house belonged to Justice Yashwant Verma. He was not at home when the fire broke out and the matter reached to the Chief Justice of India. He took the matters then to the Collegium. This decides transfers and appointment of judges. And it decided to transfer Justice Yashwant Verma from Delhi High Court to the Allahabad High Court where he came from, which led to an outage. The judges at the Allahabad High Court said that they were not a trash bin and tainted judges cannot come back to their court. An inquiry began and the fire chief said that no cash was found inside the house after a massive row. Verma also said that the allegations are a conspiracy to frame and malign him. But after an inquiry that was made public on March 22nd, including photos and videos of the fire operation, it said that there was no evidence of forced entry into the outhouse or the storeroom where the cash was found, suggesting that only known persons could access it. On the same day, the Supreme Court initiated an unprecedented 3-member in-house inquiry to look into the matter. The internal inquiry will be carried out by the Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court, Sheil Nagu, Chief Justice of Himachal High Court, C.S. Sandhwalia, and Justice Anu Sivaraman of the Karnataka High Court. Now, if this inquiry finds him guilty of corruption, he could be removed. The process of impeachment of a judge of a Supreme Court is laid down in the Constitution and the same provisions apply for a High Court judge too. Now, to remove a judge, at least 2/3 of those present and voting in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha must vote in favor of the removal, and the number of votes must be more than 50% of the total membership of each house, or simple, the judge can resign. Senior advocates are calling for a collegium reform. They say that the appointment process of judges must be transparent. They say that it could be more carefully done. Legal experts are also saying the same thing, but now the key questions that need to be answered is the cash in Verma's house. Where is this coming from? What is the source of this money? Because Verma says that the storeroom was removed from his residence and it was used for general dump and no one used it. He says that he was not aware of the cash lying in the outhouse. A bigger question has been raised on the Indian judiciary and corruption charges are huge. Now, all eyes are on the report by the committee appointed by the Supreme Court. Odisha has hit a jackpot. It is set to emerge as a major gold mining hub with extensive deposits discovered across multiple districts. Last week, Mines Minister Vibhuti Bhushan Jeena confirmed the findings in the Odisha Legislative Assembly. The gold reserves have been identified in Sundargarh, Nabarangpur, Anugul and Koraput in Odisha. Internal surveys indicate the presence of gold mines in Malkangiri, Sambhalpur and Budh districts. In landmark move now, Odisha is preparing to auction its first gold mining block in Devghar. This marks a historic milestone for the state's mining sector. The GSI and Odisha Mining Corporation are conducting further investigation so as to where there is extraction potential. Technical committees will then review the final exploration reports before initiating commercialization efforts. Now, this discovery has a potential to transform Odisha's state economy, attract investments, and create new employment opportunities with auctions and further exploration on the horizon. Odisha could become a key player in India's gold mining industry. There are 8 gold mines in India now, 2 in Karnataka, 1 in UP, and 4 in Jharkhand. So, Odisha has now discovered a new opportunity. India is on track to surpass Japan and become the fourth largest economy in the third quarter of FY25. IMF is saying this. It says that the GDP is estimated to be $4.3 trillion in 2025 and has more than doubled in the past 10 years, rising from $2.1 trillion in 2015. IMF data shows that India is currently the fifth largest economy and is closing in on Japan, whose GDP stands at $4.4 trillion. India's economy has expanded by 105% in last 10 years, and Japan's GDP has remained stagnant as per IMF report. It says that India continues the growth path, then it could surpass Germany to become the world's third largest economy with a GDP of $4.9 trillion by the second quarter of 2027. India has registered higher GDP growth than several global economies over decades, remaining the fastest growing economy for a long time. Its economic expansion has outpaced China, US and leading European nations too. In the last 10 years, China's GDP grew by 76%, US grew by 66%, Germany grew by 44%, France grew by 38% and UK by 28%. While it took 6 decades for India to reach $1 trillion GDP in 2007, 7 years to cross $2 trillion mark in 2014, then 7 years again to cross $3 trillion mark in 2021, now it will reach $4.3 trillion in just 4 years of the last milestone. At this pace, experts suggest that India could become a $10 trillion economy by the end of 2032. However, India is still far behind China and US, the largest two economies of the world with GDPs of $19.5 trillion and $30.3 trillion. This is a good start though, but India also needs to focus on other factors to grow internally, like the GDP per capita. It is still even lesser than Bangladesh. However, it's slowly increasing. Economists say that the government policies and reforms with focus on manufacturing, export, digitalization, GST and capex push for infrastructure are the major reasons for the rise in nominal GDP numbers. As per reports, Agriculture, India Inc., government policies, services sectors, RBI's sea of changes, large flow of FDI are the key factors that played well for the growth of India. It was Bangladesh's Independence Day this week, but the parade did not happen because Muhammad Yunus flew to China. Why? Because there is a rumor that army is planning a coup. A report suggested that the army officials held an emergency meeting. The report said that the military may take over soon with a possibility of an army removing the interim government and assuming control. Since the interim government took charge in August last year, there has been growing mistrust among Bangladeshis towards the government. In the view of this, the discussions in the meeting reportedly revolved around the potential role of military in restoring stability. Reports say that the army may pressure the president to declare a state of emergency or stage a coup against Yunus. This comes as in recent months, various political parties and student leaders have raised their voices against the army, which has upset the military and provoked it to come up with a plan to control these protesters. Yunus, amid all this, is traveling to China for a 3-day visit from March 26, which was also the National Day of Bangladesh, for a BFA annual conference. Discussions are expected to be held on Myanmar's internal situation. The two sides are also expected to ink agreements on human resource development, economic and technical cooperation, and increased media activity. PM Modi, though, has written to the Bangladesh Chief Advisor on Bangladesh National Day. He said India is committed on advancing partnership with Bangladesh. President Draupadi Murmu also has written to the President of Bangladesh expressing support for democratic, stable, inclusive, peaceful and progressive Bangladesh. She said India focuses on neighborhood first and Act East policies, and Bangladesh is critical, keeping that in mind. Next week, India and Bangladesh may meet on the sidelines of BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok. March 31st is here, and here's your checklist for all things to do before the financial year ends. Taxpayers must pull up their sleeves and get to work because there's a lot to do. File your updated income tax return for FY23 before March 31st. Delaying beyond this will raise your additional tax on undisclosed income to 50% plus interest. Second, if you have opted for the old tax regime, this is your last chance to save some tax under sections 80C, 80D and 80G by March 31st to claim deductions for FY25. Options are to invest in ELSS funds, PF, life insurance, health insurance and more government schemes. Taxpayers claiming foreign tax credit must submit Form 67 by March 31st. This applies to tax deducted or paid on foreign income in FY23. For filing challan cum statements for tax deducted under Section 194IB, 194M and 194S for transactions made in February 2025 is March 30. For homeowners, make sure that you have cleared your property tax dues for FY25 because payment can be claimed as deduction while calculating the income from house property. Also remember that the new tax slabs will come into effect from April 1st, so choose accordingly. Watch our videos on tax saving instruments and which is better, the old tax regime or new tax regime for you. That's all for today. I'll see you next week.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.